Now, this was an easy lesson. Here. This is March 2024 exam. It was an easy exam. Let's start with what is meant by the term catalyst. What is a catalyst, Ahmed?
Catalyst, anything that a catalyst is it's substances that speeds up reactions without getting affected by it.
Okay, it's a biological catalyst that will speed up the rate of the reaction, but this is not complete. So it's a biological catalyst that will speed up the rate of the reaction. Okay, then what? This biological catalyst,
Does not
what
get
is it made
affected
up
by
of?
it. It's
It
made
is
up
what?
of protein.
Yes, continue. So it is a biological catalyst that will speed up the rate of reactions. It is made up of proteins. And at the end of the reaction, is it used up or not used up?
Used up.
It's no, it is not used up. The enzymes can be used again and again and again. So it is not used up. Enzymes are proteins. We just said that. State the names of the chemical elements found in all proteins. Proteins, what are they made up of?
Amino acids.
No. The chemical elements, the amino acid itself is made up from elements. What are those elements?
Oh,
Huh? What are those elements? It's made up from carbon, hydrogen. What? You don't know? Proteins are made up from carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. And you have to write the names. So when they say state the names, you will write carbon, hydrogen, okay, oxygen, and nitrogen. You write the names. You don't know what the proteins are made up of. Lipase is an enzyme found in the human digestive system. Figure 1.1 shows the effect of pH on the percentage activity of lipase. Now, we are very familiar with this graph. Describe and explain the change in percentage activity of lipase shown in the figure. How can you describe this graph first?
first of all, we we analyze the activity that's happening in the graph. Like if
Okay,
it's
how will
going.
you write it down?
Mm, okay, let me first uh, draw on it.
It is already in front of you, and you're not asked to draw it, you're asked to describe it. How will you describe what is happening to the percentage activity? There's nothing wrong with it. It's very easy. The percentage activity is going through what
It's just like
at the
it's
beginning? Excuse me?
going up and being used up,
It's not being used up. I'm talking about a reaction. The percentage activity here in this part of the graph, it is increasing or decreasing?
increasing.
Yes. So the percentage activity is increasing. Okay. It is
Yes,
increasing when the pH starts from 4 until the pH reaches, what is this part of the graph called? The top part of the graph. I cannot imagine I'm asking these questions and your exam is less than 2 weeks or 3 weeks. This part of the graph, we will say it is increasing. The percentage activity is increasing. This part of the graph, the percentage activity reached what?
Optimum temperature?
optimum.
pH, sorry.
Yes, optimum pH. This is the maximum percentage activity. So this question, describe and explain, 6 marks. Again, you have a question like this in every exam. You're given a graph that you have to describe. You will break it down into different parts. There is a part going up, there is a peak, and there's a part going down. How many times did we do that? The part going up, you will say that as the pH is increasing, percentage activity is increasing. This is the describe. We are still in describe until we have an optimum pH of 7. This is the maximum percentage activity. And then as the pH increases beyond 7, from 7 to 10, the percentage activity is decreasing. So we finished the describe and we gave numbers. Now explain. As the pH is increasing at the beginning from 4 towards 7, why is the percentage activity increasing? So let's explain. Let's explain the first part of the graph. Why, when the pH is increasing, the percentage activity is increasing also? Is it because of the kinetic energy? Do we mention anything related to kinetic energy when we're talking about pH?
No.
No. Because of what? Successful collisions, more enzyme substrate complex, faster reactivity? Yes or no? Tell me yes or no.
Yes.
Yes. I will mention everything I say, but I will exclude the kinetic energy part because this is not temperature, this is pH. Why is the percentage activity increasing? Because there are more successful collisions. Because there is more formation of enzyme substrate complex. Because there is a faster or an increasing reaction rate. Because I am approaching the optimum pH. As long as that I am close to the optimum pH, the percentage activity is high. As long as I am away from the optimum pH, the activity is low. Okay? So the pH, as it is increasing, the reaction rate is increasing because there are successful collisions, more enzyme substrate complex, faster reaction rate. I am approaching the optimum pH. At the optimum pH, what do I write? I just convert or change the word optimum to maximum. Maximum rate of reaction, maximum successful collisions, maximum enzyme substrate complex, maximum production of products, fastest rate of reaction. That's it. Are you with me?
Yes.
What happens, or what do I say, as the pH keep on increasing from the optimum onwards, from 7 till 10? What do I discuss in this part?
Of it decreasing?
Nature.
Denaturing. Yes, the pH is increasing from 7 to 10. This is when the rate will decrease. Why? Because it will denature. And when we discuss denature, what do I say about denature?
After the enzyme is being used up.
Habibi, what do I say when I discuss any denature of any enzyme, whether due to temperature or pH or anything? How does the enzyme denature?
Active site
Yes,
the changes, so no
the
more.
active site. Exactly. The active site is destroyed. The active site changes because what happens, the bonds in the proteins, they break. The hydrogen and the ionic bonds, they break. The bonds break. It's enough to say that the bonds within the protein, they will break. And when the bond breaks, the active site will change. When the active site will change, is it fit or it is no longer fit or complementary to the substrate?
No longer complementary.
Exactly, no longer complementary to the substrate, no enzyme substrate complex, no successful collisions, no product is produced, no reaction, and after it is denatured, it is irreversible. So, this is a classic question. Because the exam is very easy, your answers have to be perfect. Because the exam is very easy, the curve will be very high and the correction will be very strict. So, it is not an advantage that the exam is easy, actually. This question is a direct question. We took it so many times before, and you still do mistakes in the question. When you are asked to describe and explain, this is a two-part question. Describe, you will break down the graph into three parts. Part A, part B, part C. Part A, the percentage activity or the reaction rate is increasing with pH. Part B is the optimum pH, maximum reaction rate. Part C, the reaction is decreasing as the pH is increasing. Very clear. You will describe and you can give numbers, especially optimum pH, mention it is 7. Explaining here the reaction is increasing because I am approaching the optimum pH, because more enzyme substrate complex, faster reaction, more successful collisions, The reaction is progressing. Optimum pH is simply the maximum. Best reaction rate, fastest reaction rate, fastest or best successful conditions, everything. And here it is decreasing because it will start to denature. Okay. And you discuss what happens in denature. Also at pH P, if the pH remains at 4 for a long time, it will also denature because in terms of pH, when the pH is very far away from the optimum pH, it will cause any enzyme to denature. Okay? Complete the word equation to show the substrate and products for lipase. What does the lipase break down? What does the
Lipase
lipase break down? Yeah. The
Breaks
lipase, what
down
does it?
lipids or fats into
Yes,
glycerol and
into
fat.
glycerol and fat acids.
correct. Okay. Lipase acts in the duodenum. Explain how the body provides a suitable pH for lipase activity.
It have sodium bicarbonate in the bile.
Correct. Very good. Because the bile is produced in the liver, and the bile is
Yes,
going to be released into the duodenum. So the bile will go to the duodenum. Okay.
yes,
And the bile contains sodium bicarbonate, which is an acid or an alkali.
an
Alkaline.
alkaline.
Exactly. And it will neutralize the what?
It will neutralize the acids coming from the stomach.
Very good. The acids coming from the gastric juices in the stomach. Very good. Now, figure 2.1 shows a cross section of a human heart. Can you tell me what is C?
See,
What is A?
Aorta,
And yes, correct. C is the aorta. And what is A?
try
mitral valve,
This is the mitral valve. Yes, but they like or they prefer atrioventricular or semilunar.
atrioventricular,
Yes, atrioventricular valves. Yes, it is the mitral valve, but they prefer the atrioventricular or semilunar. What about B?
semilunar or pulmonic,
Yes, semilunar valve or the pulmonary valve, correct, because it's below the pulmonary artery. On figure 2.1, label R with the position of the right ventricle. The right ventricle is A or B? Which is the right side of the heart? This is the right, A or B is the right side of the heart. The side where you
right
have
side,
very thick
right and
ventricular
B.
walls. This is, yes, so this is the right ventricle. So this is going to be R. Okay, an easy way to identify the left and the right sides, look at the walls of the ventricles. This is a very thick wall. So this will be the left ventricle. And this is a thinner wall. This is going to be a right ventricle. Complete the sentence about blood vessel C. Blood vessel C transports blood from where to where? The aorta. It transports the blood from where to where? Give me an answer. I did not do contact. The aorta, it carries blood from where to where? Ahmed,
On the rest of the body,
from the rest of the body or towards the rest of the body?
but towards the rest of the body. But
Okay,
it comes from
it comes from where? It's on the board. It's on the screen. Which ventricle? Come on, it's very easy. This ventricle is which ventricle? The left or the right?
left, left.
Yes. So the aorta will carry oxygenated blood from the left ventricle to the rest of the body. To which circulation, systemic or pulmonary circulation? The rest of the body is systemic or the pulmonary circulation?
Systemic.
Huh? Yes, systemic.
Systemic.
Ahmed, you need to study. You did not study well. This is very easy, very easy. Figure 2.2 shows a cross section of part of a heart that has incomplete structure. These are the two atria, and this is the perforation here, obviously, between the atria, incomplete heart structure. Explain how the incomplete heart structure shown in figure 2.2 may affect a person's ability to transport oxygen. Now, how many here points will you mention? 3 points. This, a hole in this part of the heart. How can this affect a person's ability to transport oxygen? Can you tell me what is the name of this part of the heart anyway? Hmm? This part of the heart is called the what? No, give me a name. This is a very easy question. I cannot imagine that you can't answer me. It's this part of the heart is what? You were going to say it. Say it.
Can you hear me, Miss?
Yes, I can hear you.
Septum?
Yes. So first you will mention that there is a hole or a perforation in the septum. How will this affect the oxygenation and deoxygenation of blood?
It will prevent the deoxygenated blood and the oxygenated blood from mixing together.
It will prevent or it will cause? It
No,
normally prevents them from mixing together. When it is perforated, they will mix or they will not mix.
they will not mix.
My dear, there is a hole, there is a channel between the right and the left sides of the
Oh,
heart.
okay, so no, it will mix.
Yes,
They
it will
will.
cause the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. So this is how it will affect the ability to transport oxygen. Also, now when I have here blood in the left atrium and the left atrium contracts, normally where should the blood go?
The lungs.
First, it will go to the left ventricle and then from the left ventricle to the whole body. Will the blood move into the left ventricle when it has a perforation on its left or on its right?
No, it won't be able to
No.
move.
Okay. So the blood will not fill or will it fill the left ventricle?
Will not fill.
Will not fill the left ventricle. And when the left ventricle is not filled with blood, will I have enough blood entering the aorta and reaching out to the whole body?
No.
No. Okay. Now, this type of question is a critical thinking question. It depends a little bit on your studying, and the remaining question is logic or common sense. So you just have to understand the question well so that you are able to understand it. They gave you here a situation in which there is a hole in the septum, and they will ask you, what will this do? You will go back to your knowledge and you will ask yourself, what is the normal function of the septum? The septum separates the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. It provides for a double circulation. Now, when there is a hole in the septum, this will not happen. The oxygenated and deoxygenated blood will mix, and the double circulation will also be affected. Here you have oxygenated blood, here you have deoxygenated blood, they will mix and the circulation will be affected. Think about it. You just have to squeeze your mind and think about it because the blood here, when the atrium is contracted, the blood normally goes to the left ventricle. But then not all the blood will go to the left ventricle. Some of the blood will enter this perforation into the right atrium. Less blood in the left ventricle means less blood pumped into the aorta, means less blood in the systemic circulation. So think of the normal functions and ask yourself, how will these normal functions will be affected when there is a defect? You understand?
Yes.
So this is a critical thinking question. I'll highlight it because this is a little bit difficult. The left ventricle will not be properly filled. When the left ventricle is not properly filled, less blood will be pumped. In other words, less blood in the systemic circulation. And less blood will reach the tissues of the body. Will reach the tissues of the body. Okay? Now, figure 2.3 shows how the body uses aerobic and anaerobic respiration during the first 120 seconds of vigorous physical activity. Between 0 and 20 seconds, the body also uses stored energy. So, again, another graph and breaking the graph down. This is the percentage of the energy released on the y-axis and time on the x-axis, and you have two graphs on one grid, the aerobic respiration and the anaerobic respiration. Describe the data. 4 marks. So here you will describe both graphs. You will describe the aerobic and you will describe the anaerobic. Let's take it one by one. Let's describe the anaerobic respiration. What will you say?
Energy at the beginning, the energy released is more than the aerobic respiration.
Very good. So the percentage of energy released increases immediately from time 0, and it increased much more than the aerobic respiration. You are correct, to reach a peak or maximum at around time
20
20. And then what happens to the percentage energy after that?
decreases.
It will decrease until what? What do you see here?
No more energy is no. It's constant.
Yes, it's constant at around time 100. It's constant at 20 at around time 100. So we finished anaerobic respiration. Let's discuss the other graph, the aerobic respiration. What will you say?
At the beginning, the energy released is low, and then it increases gradually until
Yes,
it becomes constant at I think it's also 100.
very good. So they both increased, but one of them increased faster than the other, the anaerobic or the aerobic?
Anaerobic.
Correct. Okay, so here you broke down your answer nicely. You talked first about the anaerobic respiration and then the aerobic respiration. Now, and you should compare. You have to say that one is faster than the other, and you did say that in the anaerobic respiration. Now, what about this meeting point? What can you say
Energy
here?
released by both processes is the same.
Yes, at which time?
60 seconds.
At 60 seconds. This is how you describe a graph. Take it and break it down bit by bit and be very patient. Don't be in a rush. When you have two graphs on one grid, you will have to compare between them, like you just did. This is a very good answer. State the balanced chemical equation for aerobic respiration. Ahmed, can you tell me?
I think he lost connection.
No, oh, yes. So tell me the balanced chemical equation.
C6H12 uh, H12O6
Yes.
into 2,6.
Wait, for aerobic respiration.
Oh, sorry. C6H12 plus O2, 6O2. No, 6O2.
Yes, yes, you're correct. You plus oxygen will give us what?
Carbon dioxide and energy.
And water.
And water, sorry. Yes, and water.
Okay, how do we balance this equation?
6 before the CO2 and 6 before the H2O.
Yes. During anaerobic respiration, an oxygen debt can build up. State the name of the chemical that causes this oxygen debt.
Lactic acid.
Correct. Very easy exam. Now, this figure shows a growing plant. The plant is growing in the dark. This is the shoot and this is the root. Now, as long as it is growing in the dark, what is the stimulus? Light or gravity?
Gravity.
Of course. State the name of the growth response shown by the plant. This is phototropism or geotropism.
Geotropism?
Of course, we don't have light here. You should note on your own. I should not give you options. Explain how the growth of the plant shoot in figure 3.1 is controlled. We took this in coordination. How is this controlled?
By the hormone auxin, I think,
Okay, now this auxin is going to be produced where?
at the shoot tip.
Yes, very good. And then?
It moves by diffusion and
Correct.
active osmosis. No, it
Just
moves by
diffusion. It moves by diffusion. Finished. And where will it accumulate?
at the side where there's more shade.
We're talking here about gravity. There's no light.
So at the roots.
This is the shoot. It's going to accumulate at the side towards gravity or the opposite side?
Towards gravity.
Yes, it will accumulate at the side towards gravity. And what does it do to this side?
It elongates.
Yes, it will cause cell elongation. So this is also a direct question. When it elongates, when one side elongates more than the other side, this is going to make the shoot bend away from gravity. So that is why the shoot will bend upwards, like in this picture. Clear? This is equal or unequal distribution of auxin.
Unequal.
This is unequal distribution of auxin, of course. Okay? So here, again, it's a direct question. You studied this part, you will do it well. You did not study, you will miss out some of the points. Auxin is the hormone produced at the tip. It will diffuse from the tip and accumulate in the layers or the areas behind the tip. And it will accumulate, in that case, in the area towards gravity, causing cell elongation by the absorption of water. Cells here will absorb more water on that side, so they will become longer and they will bend away from gravity. You can write this as negative geotropism due to the unequal distribution of auxin. Easy and direct, straightforward. State 2 uses of water in a plant.
It is used for photosynthesis.
Of course, what else?
Support for the plant.
Yes, it does provide turgidity. It does provide support. Correct. Okay, another graph. So this exam on its own has 3 graphs now. A student measured the root length of a bean seedling over a period of 120 hours. Always look at the x and y axes. So over 120 hours, the root length, it was increasing slowly, and then the length increased quickly, and then it became constant. Calculate the percentage increase in root length between 48 hours and 96 hours. Give your answer to 2 decimal places. First, when they tell you percentage increase, you expect the answer to be in positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive. What is the formula?
Final minus initial over initial.
Correct. Then
Times 100.
times 100. What is the final?
What? Once.
At which time? At 48 hours or 96 hours?
96.
Correct. So we will get the root length at 96, not the value 96. We will get the root length at 96, which is here. This is 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So this is the final 25. What is the starting value?
48.
Very good. The root length at of 48 hours. So I'll go up here. So this will be a value of 8. So putting this into the formula, it would be 25 minus 8 over 8 times 100. And you will give your answer to 2 decimal places. Okay, you'll use your calculator to calculate that. Very good. Now we're nearly finishing the exam. Figure 4.1 shows the concentrations of the female sex hormones during the menstrual cycle. Identify hormone R and S. What is R?
Estrogen.
Correct. R is not the follicle stimulating hormone because there is another label for the follicle stimulating hormone. As the follicle is growing, the follicle is producing estrogen. Correct. What is S?
Luteinizing hormone.
Excellent. It's the luteinizing hormone that peaks at day 14. State the day or days of the menstrual cycle shown when ovulation is most likely to occur.
14.
Yes. Shedding of the uterine lining, when does it occur?
28. Day 28.
No.
1.
Day 28, yes. Always the menstrual cycle starts with the flow phase, and the flow phase always starts from day 1. From day 1 to day 4, day 1 to day 7, but it has to start from day 1. Okay? This is important also. Let me mark it. It has to start from 1. Describe how the concentration of progesterone would change during pregnancy. So if there is successful pregnancy, how will the concentration of progesterone change?
It
Will
will
it
increase.
decrease? Of course, very good. It will increase. So the concentration of progesterone, it will increase. It will not decrease. Who will produce progesterone at the beginning of pregnancy and then at the late stages of pregnancy?
The yellow body and then the placenta.
Perfect. So the yellow body will produce progesterone at the beginning or the first stages of pregnancy, and the placenta will produce progesterone at the late stages of pregnancy. Very good. Now describe again. It will increase. Why does it stay high? Why is it important that the progesterone levels are high during pregnancy?
To maintain the uterus lining.
Correct. To maintain the thickness of the uterus. Why else? I saw this question. It became very common in the past years. Also, what does it
Um,
inhibit?
what's the meaning of inhibit? What?
Stop. What does it stop?
Stop.
It, it stops the brain releasing 2 other hormones. What are they?
FSH and the luteinizing hormone.
Very good. It stops the production of the FSH and the luteinizing hormones from the brain so that there is no development of another follicle and there is no ovulation. And the female, she will not become pregnant because she is already pregnant. Okay? So this question is important. Let's look at the mark scheme for this question. What else? It will maintain pregnancy, keep the uterus thick. This is number 4. I think this is the mark scheme. The concentration of progesterone increases or becomes constant after day 24, and then accept increases, and then it will become constant. Reject decreases to thicken the uterus lining, to help implantation of egg, to prevent ovulation. Now we even said much more than that. Okay. State the site of production of progesterone during a menstrual cycle and during pregnancy. We already answered this question here. During the menstrual cycle, it is produced from what?
The yellow body.
Yes. And during pregnancy,
The placenta.
the placenta. Describe the role of the FSH in the menstrual cycle. 1 mark only.
Stimulates the growth of the egg, development of the follicle. Sorry.
Follicle, yes. Very easy question. Very easy exam. Okay, now this is part of a flower plant. State 2 pieces of evidence that are visible that show that this flower plant is pollinated by insects. What can you see that tells you it is
Color,
pollinated by insects? Excuse me?
colorful petals. Can I say that?
It's black and white. It's related to petals, yes, but not the color.
Um, can I say wide petals or large
No.
petals?
They might, yes, large, yes. So these are large petals to attract insects, but they're not white, they're not colored. I don't see the color. Give me another reason why this is insect pollinated.
Mm,
What are these?
nectar. Can I say nectar?
No, 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 no. You don't see the nectar. These are guidelines. This is
Oh,
year 9. These are guidelines, okay, that guide the insect to the inside of the flower so that it feeds on the nectar. So it has guidelines to help the insects. And also the flower parts, the stamen and the filament, are they dangling out or they are inside the flower?
out. They are dangling.
Come on, do you see the stamen and the anther and the filaments dangling out like in the wind pollinated? You
No.
only see the petal, everything is inside. So the flower parts are inside the flower. They're not dangling outside. Okay? Describe the advantages and disadvantages of sexual reproduction for this plant. Again, it's a direct question. How will you answer this question?
The advantages is that biodiversity,
Yes, of course, there is lots of variation or less variation.
lots of variation,
And why is this an advantage?
prevents the spreading of diseases,
No, this is not the first thing we write. It will make the organism more adapted or less adapted to the
more
environment. Of course, more adapted. What else? More adapted to environmental changes. If there is a disease, there is a high chance or a low chance that all the organisms will die from the disease.
a low chance,
Yes, of course. So they are more disease resistant, or a low chance that they will die from a disease. There is a high chance or a low chance that they will become extinct when there is variation.
low chance,
Of course, memorize this list. It's very common. There is less chance for them to become, less chance for extinction. There is more chance for mutation and natural selection or less.
more chance of mutations,
Yes, more mutation. And mutations can sometimes also be good. They're not always bad. More mutation and natural selection. Now, the disadvantages of variation. What can be the disadvantages of variation?
plants cannot reproduce on their own,
Yes, they cannot reproduce in the wild. What else?
they can require pollinators,
Very good. They need pollinators. Give me another disadvantage.
um,
More energy consuming or less energy consuming?
more energy consuming,
It needs more energy. It needs more time. Maybe unfavorable characteristics can be passed on. Okay, please memorize this list. It's really a common question. It's very easy. Okay, now here. Monkey flower plants were introduced to Europe about 200 years ago, and the scientists measured the leaf area of 5 monkey flower plants growing in Europe and 5 monkey flower plants growing in North America. And the results are as shown. This is the plant number, and this is the leaf area. And here they got the final average. Okay? This is the leaf area in centimeters squared. The plants growing in North America, plant number, and the leaf area. And of course, they will tell you calculate the mean here. How do you calculate the average here?
add them all together and then divide them by 5.
Yes, of course. And then divide by 5. Okay. Give your answer as a whole number, don't forget. And include the unit. What will be the unit?
centimeter square.
Yes, they are actually nice that they reminded you to include the unit. State a conclusion for the results. Now, without calculating the average in Europe or in North America, what happens to the leaf area?
It It's larger in Europe.
Yes, it's larger in Europe, okay, than in North America. That's it, just one mark. Ancestors of monkey flower plants had a much smaller leaf area. Explain how the monkey flower plants have developed a larger leaf area over time. 5 marks. What are you going to talk about here?
Adaptation, natural
Okay,
selection.
natural selection. Perfect. And you will talk about the sequence, how it develops. So, what happens in natural selection? What are the steps? We want to take the 5 marks.
Mutations happen.
Excellent. Yes. So, mutations, we start always with the word mutation, will lead to what?
Variation.
Correct. And then when I have a variety, I have what? Hmm?
They were
Mutation.
there will be a higher chance of survival.
Yes, there will be a group of population that will have a higher chance of survival. So you will have populations. Some of them will have a higher chance of survival, and some of them will have a lower chance of survival. Okay. And now they are competing also. Don't forget that these populations will compete. Who will survive? Those that are more adapted or less adapted?
More adapted.
Of course, so those that have a higher chance of survival, those that are more adapted, they will survive. And what will happen when they survive? And the
They
others, they will die.
they are going to pass on their genes to their
Correct?
offspring.
Very good. So when they are adapted, they will survive. And the others that are not adapted, they will die. Number one, this is going to reduce the competition between them because a group of population already died. Number two, those favorable genes or favorable characteristics will be passed on, just like you said. And then when they are passed on, what happens with time?
All of them are going to have the similar
Exactly.
characteristics.
Exactly. And this is called,
Natural selection.
there's the word before natural selection.
Adaptation. Evolution.
Evolution by natural. Yes. So exactly, you write it in this order. You have mutation. This will lead to a variety between the populations. You have a population that is more adapted than the other. They will start competing. Those that are more adapted will survive. Those that are not adapted will die. When they die, this is going to reduce the competition. This is going to increase the chances of the survival for the adaptive population. Favorable genes will be passed on until with time, all the organisms will evolve into the adapted population. And this is an example of natural selection. This is in year 9 and year 10. You added all the keywords and you wrote these steps in order, you will take the 5 marks. Okay, last question. Figure 6.1 shows part of the carbon cycle: sun, carbon dioxide in atmosphere, ocean surface, phytoplankton, and then it will be fed the phytoplankton. What is the phytoplankton? We also took it. Phytoplankton in ecology. It seems that you forgot. Phytoplankton, these are microscopic plants. There are plants, microscopic, that they are the base of the food chain in the ocean. They are eaten by the other fish. So these are microscopic plants. They do photosynthesis. Okay. Phytoplankton contain chlorophyll. Actually, they told you. Explain how the phytoplankton lower carbon dioxide concentrations in the atmosphere. How do they reduce carbon dioxide?
They do photosynthesis.
Yes, they do photosynthesis, and this is not enough. What will you do? What will you write in the second sentence?
The equation,
Exactly. You will write the chemical equation for the photosynthesis to take both marks. Again, easy question. Suggest the role of the zooplankton in this ecosystem. The zooplankton is eating the feces, it is eating the wastes. So, what is it?
decomposer,
Correct. It is eating decayed or organic matter. So, the decomposer. Very good, one mark. State the names of two processes that add carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. This is the carbon cycle, year 9. What are two things?
respiration,
Yes, correct. Respiration. What else?
combustion. Can I say that?
Correct. Perfect. Yes, of course. Combustion. Describe the effect on the environment of the additional carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. This carbon dioxide, why is it harmful?
Greenhouse gas causes global
Perfect.
warming
It's a greenhouse gas, but you will not just write that. What is a greenhouse gas? Why is it harmful?
because it causes global warming.
Correct. But how does it go cause global warming? What does it trap?
Heat, heat
Yes, it
energy.
traps ultraviolet radiation from the sun. And when it does that, it is going to make the earth warmer than normal. Okay? This is global warming. It's called global warming and climate
Change.
change. And it's known as the enhanced greenhouse effect. It is written just like that in your year 9 notes. Enhanced greenhouse effect. Now, what are the disadvantages of the enhanced greenhouse effect? What does it do?
It can melt glaciers.
Yes, of course, it can melt ice caps or glaciers, correct? What else?
The weather will become hotter, so maybe in like the hot countries, it can be unhealthy for the people living there.
Yes, not the people, the plants and the animals. It can kill plants and animals that are not suited to survive in very hot weather. Kill plants and animals. What will it do to biodiversity? Increase or decrease biodiversity?
Decrease.
Of course, decrease biodiversity. It can cause unnatural fires and forests. It can cause a lot of damage. Figure 6.2 shows the pyramid of energy for a food chain in an ocean ecosystem. Label the trophic level containing herbivores. The first or the second level?
The second.
Correct. The first is the producer, and the second level is the herbivores. This is the producers. Perfect. Explain why the pyramid of energy usually has less than 5 trophic levels.
Because there's energy lost
Correct. As we move up the pyramid, or how is the energy lost?
as we move up the pyramid.
Very good. Up the pyramid. How is it lost? It's not enough. How is the energy lost? How much exactly is transferred and how much is lost? Come on. 90% of the energy is lost. And how is it lost? Hmm? This is year 9. It is lost in respiration. It is lost in movement. It is lost as heat. It is lost because not all the food is digested. Remember this list. This is a very common question. It is lost in excretion. Okay? And only 10% of the energy is transferred along the food chain. So by the time you reach the fifth trophic level, is there enough energy to be transferred to a sixth trophic level?
No.
No. So by the time you reach the fifth trophic level, there is no more energy to support a sixth level because the energy is lost. This is a very common question also. It's important. Okay. State two advantages of using a pyramid of energy rather than a pyramid of biomass. Why is the pyramid of energy better than a pyramid of biomass to represent a food chain? I sent you the answer to this question in the WhatsApp yesterday.
I'm not sure, but because in the pyramid of energy, the energy is lost.
No. Yes, it is lost, but this is not the reason why the pyramid here is easier than the pyramid here. Which one is easier to plot? Which one represents the flow of energy?
The biomass, the pyramid of biomass.
You're sure? How come the pyramid of biomass represents energy? How come? The pyramid of biomass, from the name, it represents the biomass that is transferred, the mass of the organism that is transferred. But the pyramid of energy represents what?
The flow of energy.
Yes, so the pyramid of energy shows the actual energy transfer. It shows the actual energy transfer. In other words, how much energy has transferred. But the pyramid of biomass does not show you the actual energy transfer. Not all the organisms have the same amount of energy. You can write this down. Not all organisms have the same energy. And the energy between the organisms or the energy transferred can be compared. So it allows ecosystems to be compared. I sent you this on the WhatsApp yesterday and I told you to add it. When I send you something and I tell you to add it, I definitely did this for a reason. So the ecosystems can be compared. Let's revise this part. The pyramid of number. Do you remember it? When we have an inverted pyramid because it represents a tree, which is one in number, and then you have insects feeding on the tree, and then it narrows down. So the pyramid of number is upright or inverted?
Upright.
My dear, the pyramid of number looks like this. It's narrow at the base, and then it's wide. So is this inverted or upright?
Yes,
It's inverted and it's confusing. This is the disadvantage about the pyramid of number. Pyramid of biomass, from the name, it represents the mass of the organisms as you're moving along the trophic levels. And it's a normal pyramid, but it is difficult to plot and it does not show you the flow of energy. Which one shows you the flow of energy? Only the
pyramid of energy.
Yes. So the pyramid of energy is the most preferred pyramid because it shows you the actual energy that is being transferred. But in the pyramid of biomass, it doesn't show you the energy in the organisms. And maybe the organisms have different types of forms of energy or amounts of energy. What is a sustainable resource? This is the definition.
A resource that doesn't run out.
Yes, it's going to be replaced once it is used. It's like a renewable resource. So it is replaced after or once it is used. It does not run out. Just like you said. Okay, explain one way that fishing can be managed to conserve fish stocks. There's a list here over the conservation of fish in your notes. How do we protect the fish? Oh, this is easy. You were absent.
Stop overfishing.
Yes, of course, stop overfishing. Now, who's going to regulate the overfishing? Actually, this is the question. How do we stop overfishing? How do we make the fishers stop overfishing? What do we set? You forgot. There is something called a fishing quota. You were absent when we explained this part. Fishing quota. There is a certain amount of fish that that you are allowed to fish by the government. Beyond that, you will be penalized. There is something called controlling the fish net. You remember
Closed
this?
and closed seasons, right?
Yes, exactly. Closed seasons. You cannot fish during the summer because this is their breeding season. They breed during the summer. So closed nets. Okay. So you have to set rules and regulations to control the growth of the fish so that you give time for the fish to reproduce. Clear?
Yes.
And this is the end of the exam. Now, this exam is very easy. It included a lot of things from year 9, the carbon cycle, which is not common. So I highlighted the questions that can be confusing. And how is practicing the exams anyway? Is everything going fine? Okay, send me if you have any questions.
Okay.
Okay, my dear, bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.